Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the latest episode of An American in Thailand, airing every Friday. We broadcast this program from Ratchamakan University of Technology, Peranakan, and I will be bringing this program to you in two parts. The first part will introduce a certain topic that relates to being an American living here in Thailand. Could be about food, travel, culture, anything like that. And then we'll take a brief break, and in the second part of our program, we'll just get into more details, examples, some specifics of what those differences or issues are between being an American here in Thailand. Then we'll have news and the latest updates from the university as usual. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to An American in Thailand. I am your host for this program. My name is Gary Gray, and I am an American English teacher here at Ratchamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. I have been here for about 8 years, so I've been here probably long enough to understand a lot of the differences. I'm still learning. I learn something new every day here in Thailand. I tend to keep to myself, so I don't go out a lot, so I don't know everything yet. So I'm still learning some new things here in Thailand, so I don't understand all of the cultural differences or differences in food or things like that. But I have a pretty good idea about the differences between America and Thailand. And so we've talked about in our first few weeks here on this program, we've talked about some food issues, mainly about cooking food, like kitchens and things like that. And last week we talked about politics, which is a little bit of a weird one. I don't like to get into politics too much. But it's an interesting time for politics. There's a lot going on right now, especially when you consider we're talking about an American in Thailand. There's a lot going on in American politics, especially right now. Donald Trump is doing a lot of things that most of the rest of the world is not very happy with. I think Vladimir Putin is very happy with them, but most of the world is not happy with. So I don't like talking about politics a lot, especially when I'm comparing it to Thai politics. I don't like talking about Thai politics. I'm not Thai. So some people might think I have no business talking about it. So we just tried to talk about what the main differences were last week. I didn't give too much of my opinion. I gave a little bit. I did give a little bit of my opinion, but it was more on the American side, on the American politics. The fact that I'm not really a very big fan of Donald Trump. And I do think that's important for people around the world to know. I'm not sure. I have a pretty good idea, but I'm not sure how most Thai people view President Trump. But most of the world doesn't like him. So I do want my Thai friends out there just to be aware that there are plenty of Americans that feel the same way. And in fact, in our last election that he won, even though he won, he got less than half the votes. Most Americans did not want him to be our president. He got very close to half. Very close. Very close. Over 49%. But it was still less than half. Most people don't like him. Most people don't want him. And his popularity has gone down even more since he became president because he's been doing these crazy things. So now, a large majority of Americans do not want him. So don't think that just because we voted for him, that most Americans love what he's doing. We don't. That was really the only political opinion I offered in our last episode. I try to stay away from there. So today we're going to talk about a more light topic, a more fun topic. We're going to talk about sports. Sports and the differences between sports in America and sports in Thailand. We'll get into some of the details why we have these differences, things like that, in the second half of our program. The first part, I just want to kind of talk about more briefly, like the difference in terms of just what the favorite sports are. I mean, what sports are you watching? What sports are you playing? Things like that. So here in Thailand, as with most of the world, I think probably football is the most popular sport here, which we in America call soccer, because we have an American version of football, which is quite different. Quite different from what you guys call football. So we have to give it a different name, so we call it soccer. The good thing is some other countries also have their own version of football, like like Australia, for example. So there is a tendency in some of these countries for them also to call it soccer. I say that's a good thing because the word is used enough, even though it's mostly Americans that use that word. The word soccer is used enough so that most people, at least who know the English names of sports, most people will know what soccer is. You say soccer to a Thai person, at least a Thai person that understands some English, they know what you mean. They know what you're talking about. For a short time, when America was like the only one calling it soccer, there was a short time, like before the internet and, information got spread around more. There was a time where if you said soccer to someone from maybe China, they wouldn't know what the heck you're talking about. What is soccer? They don't know the word. But now pretty much everyone knows it. So it doesn't matter if you say soccer or football. Everyone knows what you're talking about. So soccer is probably, or football, is probably the most popular sport here in Thailand, I think. Muay Thai, also very popular. Believe it or not, I've actually never been to a Muay Thai match. Well, sort of. I was going to say I've never been to one. I've never been to a match. Not entirely true. Our university occasionally hosts matches, so just as I was leaving my university after teaching, I've sometimes walked through our big open area where they have the ring set up, and they'll be having a match. And so I'll stop and watch that. It's very interesting because in our part of the city here in Bangkok, there's certainly some tourists, but not a lot. We're not too far from the Khao San area, which of course is a very popular tourist area here in Bangkok. But we're not so close. It's not a lot of tourists. So there aren't really you don't really see a lot of white folks like me around our university. There's a few, because we have one other one that works at the university, and there's a high school across the street from us that has, I think, one or two white folks working there. So you'll see them occasionally, and you'll see tourists occasionally around as well. So it's kind of funny when we see that when we have the Muay Thai events going on at the university, because there'll be a lot more white people suddenly there. And some of them aren't even just tourists there to watch it. Some of them are actually involved in it. I haven't seen a white fighter, but some of them are clearly you can see that they're clearly working with the fighters. So I don't know if they're trainers. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they're doing there, but we get a lot more. It's just kind of funny. We get all these white people show up on our campus when we have a Muay Thai event going on. So that's another popular sport in Thailand. And volleyball, also very popular. And badminton, also very popular here in Thailand. I would say those are probably the four most popular sports, I think, here in Thailand. There are other sports that are popular. Golf, tennis, futsal. There are other popular sports. Those aren't the only four. But I think those are probably the most popular four sports here in Thailand. In America, The list is so different. Oh, I think basketball is also popular here in Thailand. It is also popular, but again, it's probably not on the list of those top four. I think the top four are probably soccer, Muay Thai, volleyball, and badminton. Those are probably the top four. What's interesting is in America, the top four, and we do actually have what we call almost like an official top four, the big four sports. Our top four are completely different. Completely different. They are football. In this case, it's going to be American football, so it's not soccer, so it's different. So this is American football. Basketball, which, as I mentioned, is popular here in Thailand, but I don't think it's one of the top four. Basketball, baseball, and ice hockey. So those are the big four sports in America. Now, in America, just like here in Thailand, there are other sports that are popular. Just not in those top four. We have auto racing, which in the second part we'll discuss in the second part of our program, we will discuss whether or not that's even really a sport. But I would say it's not. But officially, it's considered a sport in America. So we have auto racing. We also like tennis and golf there. And soccer is not unpopular. Some might even try to argue that it is more popular than ice hockey. So maybe it should be on the list of the top four. I would say probably not. Probably not. It was gaining on ice hockey, and I think it could have passed ice hockey, but in the last few years, ice hockey, the professional level, has broken a lot of attendance records. So the popularity does appear to be up a little bit for ice hockey. It's a little hard for me to follow American sports here in Thailand, so I'm not really sure. I have been here for 8 years, and 8 years ago is when soccer was starting to catch up with ice hockey. So I'm not totally in tune to this idea that hockey is now moving up further ahead of soccer. So I'm not 100% sure of that. I can say with reasonable confidence that soccer is probably still below hockey. So it has not kicked it out of the top four. So again, the top four in America are still going to be American football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. But again, we do still have a lot of other sports that are popular. I mentioned some of them. Auto racing, soccer is popular. Golf, tennis. We also have weird sports that are popular for a short time. Like when I was a young adult and late teenager, racquetball became extremely popular. You may not even know what racquetball is because it's not very popular anymore. And most racket clubs here in Thailand, I believe, are just for tennis. Maybe they have some courts for racquetball. It's similar to squash, except I think racquetball is more fun because the ball bounces more. A lot more action than the game of squash. And now there's a popular sport called pickleball, which is really weird. It's kind of, I don't know, it's almost like some weird version of tennis, I guess. I don't think there's a net, though. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with it. It's only become popular in the last few years, and it got kind of interrupted with COVID, and I don't know. I don't know much about it. But you do have these sports that kind of get briefly popular, have these spikes in getting popular. And it kind of makes sense in America that you'd get weird stuff like that. It's a big country, both in the number of people and geographically. And we also have people that come in from all over the world. So we have influences from many, 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 many different cultures. So we get all kinds of interesting influences. And so it might be a sport that comes from another country. Like, I don't know, maybe pickleball is played somewhere else. I have no idea. I knew nothing about it until about 4 years ago. Maybe it came from some other country. I don't know. But even if it didn't, even if it was invented in America, it might be that someone got that idea through combining some ideas that did come from other cultures. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, that's how things happen sometimes. For example, with ice hockey, there's also a sport called field hockey, which is basically the same rules but played outside in a field. I mean, basically the same rules. Obviously, there's going to be some differences. And a puck like they use in ice hockey is not going to move on the ground outside, so they use a ball. The stick is shaped differently, so definitely some differences there. But that's the same idea. You have similar positions. You go down one end, you go down the other. Each team is trying to score. It's the same basic idea. Well, that idea was probably taken. I'm sure one of them came first. I'm honestly not sure which one came first. But if field hockey came first, ice hockey was probably just taken from that because it was a cold place. So how can we play this sport, but it's too cold most of the year? So maybe in a place like Canada, because ice hockey is very popular there, they took field hockey and changed it to be on ice. Or maybe if ice hockey came first, maybe in places where it's not very cold, like in Europe where field hockey is more popular than it is in North America, maybe they transferred it there and decided, well, we have to play this outside on the ground because it's not cold enough here. Field hockey, by the way, is a very popular sport to be played in like high school or even college, but not really beyond that. Same thing with lacrosse. It's considered more of a rich person sport. And again, it's played more in high school and college levels. So again, that's another sport that's played in America. And it's fairly popular at those levels, but not professionally. So it's not like it's on TV. You can't watch lacrosse games on TV very easily. Some local sports channels might have it. Or maybe they'll play some game on a late night on like the major sports channels or something. But generally, it's hard to find things like field hockey or lacrosse on TV. So not very popular in America. Okay, so again, those are the top 4 sports in each country. Now, you may disagree with my list in Thailand. Like I said, I've been here 8 years. That's long enough for me to have a basic idea. And I actually looked it up to make sure I got it right. So I think it's soccer, Muay Thai, volleyball, and badminton. But you could disagree. Maybe you think tennis is more popular than badminton. I don't think it is. But I do know people that play tennis here. You could maybe think basketball is more popular than badminton or volleyball. Again, I don't think so. But I do have several of my students here that like to play basketball. It is pretty popular. But just trying to look at the top 4, since that's kind of what we have in America as well. We have the big 4 sports. So the top 4 in Thailand: soccer, Muay Thai, volleyball, badminton. And in America, it's totally different, which is interesting. None of the 4 are the same. It's American football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. Ice hockey. So, in the second part of our program, we're going to discuss kind of why some of these differences are there. What's behind that? I mean, most of these are all fun sports. Some for different reasons. Baseball can be pretty slow, so it's boring for a lot of people. American football has like a lot of action, but in brief periods, and then a lot of boring time in between. So that can be boring for some people. Basketball and ice hockey, usually more popular, usually more exciting. But in their own way, they're all kind of fun, right? They're all fun. Especially if you're playing. Especially if you're playing them rather than just watching them on TV. Like baseball can, because it's slow. Some people do find it's really boring to watch on TV. It takes 3 hours. Oy. That's a lot of time to be just watching one program, and it's fairly slow usually. So a lot of people find that too boring to watch on TV, but it's still fun while you're playing it, especially since there's some strategy involved, especially with pitching and what type of pitcher you're going to throw to the person trying to hit the ball, and lots of interesting things there that you have to pay attention to in baseball. So if you're playing it, it's kind of fun. In fact, the fact that it's kind of a slow game actually makes it more fun because it gives you time to think and come up with those ideas and have those strategies and know how you want to do this and how you want to do that. So I think it's actually quite fun. Quite a fun game. But it is slow. So some of these may not be fun for some people to watch. I'm not a big fan of watching soccer. But they're all kind of fun to at least play. So again, why the differences? So again, in the second part of our program, we're going to talk about why we have some of these differences. Some of the reasons might be pretty obvious, but we'll talk about that. So we're going to look at why American versus Thai sports are so different. None of the top four are the same. None of the top four. Okay, so before we get to that, let's take a quick break. Welcome back to An American in Thailand. And so for today's episode, we are talking about the differences in sports between America and Thailand. And in the first part of our program, we identified the top 4 sports in each country. And they're completely different. Now, there are other popular sports. For example, here in Thailand, the top 4 are soccer or football, Muay Thai, volleyball, and badminton. There are plenty of other sports that are popular. Tennis, golf, basketball. But those are the top 4. And the top 4 in America are American football, basketball, baseball, and ice hockey. So those are the top 4 in America. And again, in America, there's also other popular sports. We have auto racing. We have tennis, golf there as well, boxing. We have UFC fighting, which is interesting. We also do play volleyball and badminton there. Those are on the Thai list there. We play those 2 sports there. So there are other sports that we play. So there's lots of sports in both countries. Even though basketball wasn't on the list in Thailand, like I said, you do play that there. It's not on the top 4 list. You even play some baseball. I've seen it from time to time here in Thailand. It's not very common, but I do know that they had I taught briefly at a high school, and I didn't even see a baseball field out there. They may have just been going out to the soccer field to play, but I did see them going out there with baseball bats and gloves one day. So they do play it. So the question then is, why the difference? Well, some of it, a lot of it, in fact, both of these first 2 reasons I'm going to give have to do with geography. But one is more cultural with geography, one is more weather with geography. So the first thing is culture. And so, for example, with America, we are somewhat isolated. And that's the geography. We're only bordered by 2 countries. We have Canada in the north, Mexico in the south. That's it. Think of Thailand. Okay, Thailand is a much smaller country, and yet it's bordered by 4 countries. have Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, and Malaysia. So America is really isolated. So when soccer really gained in popularity throughout the 1900s, like the middle of the 1900s to the late 1900s, is when that really got popular. That was very slow to come to America. America also tends to be fairly conservative. We talked about that last week with politics, but it affects more than our politics. In fact, our politics is conservative because our culture is conservative. And so people don't like a lot of change. They don't like a lot of differences. That may sound weird, right? You think of America as being free and people from all over the world come there, so it's not really isolated, right? People from all over the world go there. That is true. But America is also very divided. We talked about Donald Trump before, and the people that don't like him, almost all of them, absolutely hate him. And the people that like Donald Trump, most of them, again, not all of them, but most of them, absolutely love him. So there is a large percentage of America. So let me back up. So the whole idea of America being freedom and welcoming and all that sort of thing comes from that group of people who are not isolationist, who are not isolated, who don't want America to be isolated. And that is the majority of Americans. And so that's why America generally moves in that direction. Now, Trump is not on that side, so you may be able to say, well, then why did America go the other way? As I explained earlier in the show, he didn't even get half the votes. He didn't even get the majority. So the way our system works, he can still win that way, so he still won. It's not that America, the American people, us, it's not that we have all gone in that direction. So there is that other direction. And even though it's the minority, less than half, it's still big. It's still a lot of people. So as soccer was spreading in popularity, getting really, really popular, there was a big resistance from that side of isolationist America that are like, we already have all these 4 big sports that we love. We don't need this stupid European sport. That's the attitude they would have. That's the attitude they have. It's like, it's European sport. It's stupid. We don't like it. And even though it's the minority of the country, it's still a lot of people. It's still a lot of people. And so it's hard for soccer to really kind of get up there in popularity. Plus, just the geographic isolation of America. It was difficult for soccer to spread into America. As I said, we're only bordered by 2 countries. And in Canada, I don't know that soccer's very popular there either. Maybe more than it is in America, but not very. It's too cold. So it's not very. They love their winter sports, especially ice hockey. So really all we had was Mexico. That's it. And Mexico really only borders 2 states. Well, it borders more than 2. But 2 of them don't have a very large population along the border because it's the climate is very much a desert. So there's only 2 states where there's a lot of maybe population crossing over there. And that's California and Texas. They are big states, granted, big states. But it's really hard to spread the whole culture throughout the country. The only thing I would say that they've been successful in doing that with is with their food, like Mexican food. And that's because Mexican food is really good. And even then, America has kind of Americanized the food. For example, what we call a taco, for most people in America, is not what a taco is in Mexico. So we've still changed it. So it was hard. So we're isolated. America's an isolated country. So soccer really struggled to gain in popularity there. So that's really just about geography and the culture kind of goes along with the geography, that kind of conservative, isolationist culture where some people don't like this foreign sport coming into our country. What's interesting is no one really thinks that way as far as kids playing it. I don't know any parent, even a really conservative one. In fact, I have some in my family whose kids play soccer. If your kid wants to play soccer, it's just a sport. Let them play soccer. So soccer's quite popular among young people. I played soccer. I played almost every sport growing up, I will grant you, except for American football. But I don't look like it. I don't look very athletic, and I'm not. I was not very good at most of the sports, but I did play them all. In like organized leagues and stuff like that. I played them for real, not just out in the backyard playing around. And that's kind of saying something because I'm kind of old. So when I was growing up was really before it started to get pushed in popularity in America. So I was growing up when it was not popular at all. And kids still played it. We still played it. I played in a soccer league when I was a kid. So it is popular among kids, but just as far as professional league and people spending money on it. Now, we do have professional leagues because, as I said, it has gotten more popular. In fact, even though I'm not a big fan of soccer, I have to admit, so I don't watch it. But I am familiar with our team. We have a team where I grew up called the New England Revolution. That's our professional soccer team. And it's gotten popular enough that we attract some talent. I believe David Beckham played for the Los Angeles Galaxy. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really watch it. I don't even know if that's the team name. I don't follow it. He played for some California team for several years. So we even get some of the best players to play over in America. So it is popular. Just less popular. Not one of our top 4 sports. And there are a lot of and it's because there are a lot of Americans who are kind of resistant toward it. And that has to do with geography and culture, with kind of this isolated idea. And sometimes it's just a matter of weather. Like our fourth most popular sport in America is ice hockey. Ice hockey in Thailand? Believe it or not, you do have it. I'm aware of that because I tried to join an ice hockey league when I moved here. Unfortunately, I don't speak Thai. Maybe they don't speak English because I never got a response. They do actually have an ice hockey league. There are ice hockey rinks. I have been ice skating here in Thailand, but it's very uncommon. With technology, I think it's becoming a little more popular. Because, with the ice rinks, and you have to keep them cold, and you need all this refrigeration technology to keep the ice cold, and everything like that. I think it's becoming easier and easier and easier and easier and easier to do those sort of things. And so it is becoming more popular, and in fact, Thailand even has a national team. Thailand even made pretty big news with their national team just last year. You might have even heard about it. There was I think it was a preliminary round game of some big tournament here in Asia. And Thailand beat the Kuwaiti national team 57-0. Now, I don't know how many of you know anything about the sport of ice hockey, but the scores are usually pretty similar to soccer scores. A little bit higher. It's one of the reasons I don't like soccer. I find it kind of boring. Nobody scores. So in ice hockey, it's a little higher. Like in soccer, a score of 4-3 might be a high-scoring game. In ice hockey, like I said, it is kind of similar, so that's starting to get a little high. 4-3. But it's not that high yet. It's not that high. It would have to be like 8-4. Like a team scores 8 goals, and that does happen sometimes. But if a team scores 8 goals, they're probably really dominated the game, so the other team's probably not getting anything, or maybe 1. So 8-4, the other team gets 4 goals as well. That's a really offensive, high-scoring game. So 57-0. That's kind of crazy. That is a crazy game. So Thailand made big news with their national ice hockey team just last year. So it might be moving up in popularity a little, but I think it's fair to say that ice hockey is still very uncommon here. And it's really just the weather. I mean, back in America, if you live in the north, which is where I come from, you don't even need to have all the air conditioning and things like that for the ice rink. Rink, R-I-N-K, that's the whole, it's like the field of ice that you play on. It's called a rink. You don't even need a rink. I mean, you do if you want to play in the summer. Still gets hot in America in the summer. Even in the north, can get quite hot. The weather in America is quite crazy, actually. I might do a whole episode just on the weather, because it may surprise you to know, as hot as it is here in Thailand, in the northern part of America, it can get hotter there than it can get here. And it's due to a couple of different reasons. Actually, there's 2 different reasons. But it can get hotter. I mean, the average temperature is much lower in the northern part of America because it gets very cold in the winter, which is what I'm talking about here, and I'll continue with in just a moment. But in the summer, it actually can get hotter. The hottest days in the northern parts of America are hotter than it's ever been in Bangkok, which is crazy to think about because it can get so cold there, too. And Bangkok is considered the hottest city on the earth. How is that possible? Well, again, maybe we'll explain that in a future episode. I won't explain that here because we're talking about sports. But my point with ice hockey is it gets cold enough in the north that sometimes, not all the time, it has to get really cold and for a long time. So some winters it never gets cold enough for that. But sometimes it's cold enough in the winter, we can just go skate on lakes and ponds. Go to your local lake, put on your skates, and go out and skate around on the lake. And bring your ice hockey equipment and go play ice hockey with your friends. And some actual ice hockey places will even have outdoor rinks. I play ice hockey. As I told you, I tried to join a league when I moved here. Before I moved here, I was in an ice hockey league, and the place we played, they did have an outdoor rink. Most of our games were indoor because they had 3 rinks, so 2 out of 3 times, 2 of them were indoor, 1 was outdoor. 2 out of 3 times you'd be playing indoors. I think my last ice hockey game I ever played was actually outdoors. We had an outdoor game. So you can play outside. So it's much easier to play ice hockey in America, especially in the northern part of America. So some of it is as simple as that, weather. That's probably also why volleyball and badminton are so popular here in Thailand. While plenty of people do play them outside, they have a volleyball court. Well, actually, it's a volleyball or badminton because they just put the net up and they play whatever they want to play. But they have a volleyball and a badminton court set up at my university, and they play that outside. Where I live, here in Thailand, there's an outdoor badminton court set up that I see people play at a lot of times. But you can play them indoors. And professionally, they are usually played indoors. Not always. At the Olympics, they do have an outdoor version of badminton, of volleyball. It's called beach volleyball. So there is an outdoor version. But generally speaking, on the professional level, professional sports level, volleyball and badminton are played indoors. And it's too hot outside in Thailand to be running around all the time. So indoor sports are going to be more popular here in Thailand. So like I said, plenty of people do play volleyball and badminton outdoors. And basketball would probably be like the next one on the list if I were to list 5 of the top sports in Thailand. So basketball is also really popular. And I see a lot of people play basketball outside as well. But once again, for most people and on a professional level, that's another indoor sport. So that has everything to do with the weather. And it's too hot in Thailand, so indoor sports are going to be more popular. What's interesting too is that even though the popularity is different, you notice that with most of these, we still do have the same sports. We have the same sports. It's just the level of popularity. Like baseball is quite popular in America. It's gone down in popularity because people have shorter attention spans because of the internet. Like you watch TikTok videos for 30 seconds or whatever. So it's gone down in popularity, but it's still quite popular. It is played here. I've seen people play it. It's just not very popular. It's a little more popular in other parts of Asia, Japan and South Korea especially. Yeah, it's gained a little bit of popularity in China, and I think that's kind of carried over from Taiwan. It's pretty popular in Taiwan as well. Just generally not very popular, but it exists here. We have most of these, so we all have most of these sports. Like soccer isn't on the top 4 list in America, but as I explained to you, we have soccer. Lots of kids play soccer. It's very popular. Just not the top 4. Sports that are on neither list here. Golf, tennis. We both play those. They're fairly popular. Just not popular enough to make our list of our most popular sports. So we do have most of the same sports in both countries. Even ice hockey, as I just discussed, with the Thai national team winning 57-0 against Kuwait. And as I mentioned, in America, we also play volleyball and badminton, even though they're not on our list of top 4. Usually volleyball and badminton in America are played more for fun. We certainly do have competitive volleyball leagues. I played in one at university, as a matter of fact. I told you I've played almost every sport. The only popular sport in America I haven't played is American football. And like I said before, I'm not trying to act like some athlete. I was not very good at almost any of them. I got pretty good at ice hockey after working at it really hard because it was my favorite sport. So I got pretty good at that just before I stopped playing. I had to stop playing because I had an injury. That's the only one I was any good at, and only for a short time. I was terrible at it most of the time I played. So with volleyball, it is competitively played sometimes, but it's mostly just played for fun. And badminton is almost always just played for fun. You're having a party, especially with your family, because then you may have kids there and stuff like that. It's fun to play. Just get everyone together and play. So you set up your badminton net and you go out in your backyard and you play badminton. Yeah, it's played just for fun in America, not competitively. But we still have it. There are, though, a few sports that pretty much don't exist, or at least if they exist, are very, very, very low in popularity in the two different countries. For example, a sport that we have in America, which I have never seen here in Thailand, but again, I do know they have it, so I'm not going to say it doesn't exist at all. Just the popularity is much lower, is auto racing. I actually did a Google search to see if it even exists here, and I see there are 4 racetracks in and around Bangkok. So clearly, they're doing it. They have auto racing here, And some of you listening may actually be big fans of it. So you may think to yourself, "Oh, how can you say we don't have auto racing here?" But the popularity, if you compare the difference between Thailand and America, it is much different. In America, it is huge. It might challenge hockey on this list at number 4. And if it doesn't, I mentioned soccer is probably number 5. It would challenge soccer at number 5. It is huge. There are different groups, different types of auto racing. The biggest one in America is called NASCAR. That's different than Formula One. I'm not a big race car fan, so I don't know all the differences, different types, whatever. There's at least 2 different ones. You have like Formula One, you have NASCAR. There's at least those 2. There are probably other groups. Now, you can argue whether or not I should even include that on the list. Is it a sport? Because I don't think it is. A sport is an athletic skill or an athletic competition. Driving a car is not really athletic. Look, when you're driving that fast, you probably do need to hold on to the wheel tight. It's probably... I'm not saying it takes no strength at all. It's not really athletic. I'm not saying it's not a skill. I know, like, to pass people, you got to do it right, and they get behind each other to draft, and they do... I don't know much about it because I don't really watch it too much, but it's so popular in America. I know a little bit about it. So it does require a lot of skill. A skill is not a sport. It requires a lot of skill to be good at chess as well. Nobody calls chess a sport. Chess is a game. So I don't think it's a sport. But officially in America, race car driving is considered a sport. So I put it on our list for discussion today of a sport that exists in America that basically doesn't exist here in Thailand. Again, I say basically. It is here. I'm sure people who are big fans of it would yell at me for saying that you don't have auto racing here, because you do. I know you do, but I'm just talking about kind of relative to America. It essentially does not exist here. And a similar thing could probably be said in America about Muay Thai. Do they know what Muay Thai is in America? Most people probably don't. But some people do. They have it. Really hard to find. Really hard to find. Mostly going to be in cities where they maybe have martial arts things as well, where those are a little easier to find. You might find some Muay Thai. We do have kind of normal boxing that exists. That's also a sport I think I only mentioned once before. That would be on the list here. That's probably less popular here in Thailand simply because you have Muay Thai. But of course, boxing exists in Thailand. In fact, I think in the last Olympics, the Thai boxer had to face off against that boxer where there was all that. I think she was from Algeria. I don't remember exactly. There was one boxer that there was a lot of controversy over because of her. There were some questions about her gender, but that was getting into the medal round. So the female Thai boxer, I think she did lose to that other woman, but the female boxer actually made it to the medal round. So we have boxing here as well. I just think it's less popular here in Thailand. So that's not a sport that doesn't exist. But I would say that Muay Thai essentially doesn't exist in America. It does, but it's kind of like the whole auto racing comparison. It exists, but the popularity is so low. Basically, no. And there's one other sport that I think... Now, this one, unlike Muay Thai, which does exist, just very low popularity, there's one other sport that I think maybe does not exist at all in America. I had never heard of it until I came here. And that is the indoor, smaller version of playing soccer. And that is futsal. As far as I know, we do not have futsal in America at all. Never heard of it. I heard of Muay Thai before I moved to Thailand. Most people who, have some international kind of sight, like pay attention to stuff internationally, because a lot of people in America don't. They have enough cultural knowledge of other countries to know what Muay Thai is. So I've known what Muay Thai is for decades, even though it's pretty much doesn't exist in Thailand, in America. I've known what it is. Futsal, never even heard of it. I had no idea what futsal was when I moved here. I heard it mentioned, and I'm like, what the heck is that? Sounds like football, but it's not. So I thought maybe it was related to football. I was right. It is. It's kind of similar, but it's a different version of it. But yeah. So when you look at the whole big picture, it's kind of interesting because there are so many similarities and so many differences. And what I mean by that is that the similarities, all of these sports exist except for like one or two in both countries. They all exist. You can find them all here. Now, some of them, like ice hockey, that's pretty marginal here in Thailand, but you can find it. It does exist. Auto racing, kind of the same thing. Not really, but it's out there. It exists. You can find it. There is auto racing here in Thailand. Like I said, there's 4 racetracks just right here in and around Bangkok. So it exists. It's out there. The only one I can think of, and even Muay Thai in America, I'm basically saying that doesn't exist just because of the difference in popularity, like I did with race car driving, saying that doesn't exist here in Thailand. Well, it does. Just the popularity difference is so huge. There's really only one that I think absolutely does not exist, and that is futsal in America. Well, I mentioned earlier in the show about pickleball. I don't think that exists here in Thailand either, but that didn't exist in America more than 5 years ago. I think that's one of these trend games, trend sports that won't exist in America in another 5 years from now. Nobody will be playing it. I think it's just a trend. So I'm not even including that. So it's really just futsal. So there's a lot more similarities than you may think. But there are differences. The whole top 4 sports are entirely different. Thailand, you have soccer, Muay Thai, volleyball, badminton. America, it's American football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. And if you went down to number 5, I'm still not sure you'd have any that cross over. I think you would, because I'm guessing the 5th most popular in Thailand is going to be basketball. And that is on the American list. And also on the American list, the 5th most popular might be soccer. So that would match the Thai list. Although the 5th most popular might be race car driving, because it is very popular. So that's why I say it's possible that even if you go down to the 5th, you won't even get one that matches. I think you would because of basketball. I think basketball would probably be number 5 here in Thailand. And that would match the American list because that's probably second on the American list. I believe basketball for a time actually passed football and was the most popular sport in America. I don't think it is anymore. That's American football. I think American football is the most popular sport in America. But basketball has been close. They've kind of alternated. It used to be that baseball was the most popular, but that's when our lives were slower. We didn't have internet, and so you go to a ball game for 3 hours, you watch a ball game for 3 hours on TV at night. You got nothing else to do. It's a nice way to relax. It's kind of a slow sport. can eat while you're watching, chat with your friends. It's a nice, relaxing time. Now, our lives are so busy, it's dropped in popularity. Ice hockey's a lot more fast-paced. It's just been lower popularity because it's not really America's sport. It kind of came from Canada. It's really popular in Canada. As I mentioned earlier, it does seem to be gaining in popularity now, which is why soccer has not caught up with it. But it's still far and away the fourth one down. It's still well behind baseball. But those are the top four in America. So again, very interesting at how similar they are and how different they are. They're similar because we have all the sports. Mostly. Again, no futsal in America. Almost no Muay Thai in America. Almost no car auto racing in Thailand. We do have it, just compared to the other country, very low. But we have all the same sports. Basically, except futsal. We have them all. Thailand and America. We play the same games. We play the same sports. Very similar. But very different in the ones that we like the most. The top four have 0 that are the same on either list. 0. And as I mentioned, if you stretch it out to 5, you still may not have any. I think you would. I think you'd get basketball on the Thai list, which is second on the American list. So I think you'd finally get a match there, but I'm not sure about that. I don't know what the 5th most popular sport here is in Thailand. Okay, so again, very interesting. Same, but different. And that is a look at the sports between Thailand and America. And as I said, I think it's really interesting because we play almost all of the same sports. It's just that the level of popularity of the different sports is extremely different. Very interesting. Okay. Thank you for joining us for today's An American in Thailand program. Please stay with us and tune back in next week for another interesting episode. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.